Now that you've heard about the basics of our program, I'll take some time to explain how we offer a flexible training, which, after diversity of exposure, is the other distinguishing feature of our program. Fellows at Emory are able to tailor their training to match their career goals by choosing one of two pathways. The first is the clinician expert or clinician educator pathway, and the second is the research pathway, also known as the physician scientist track. Unlike some programs who expect you to commit to a training track prior to starting your fellowship, or even prior to matriculating at their program, we at Emory do not expect you to commit to a specific track before the middle to end of your first year of training. So the first year looks pretty much the same for every fellow and is a pretty rigorous clinical year. It consists of 5 months of medical ICUs at the 5 different campuses, 3 months of outpatient pulmonary, 3 months of inpatient pulmonary, and a month divided between 2 weeks of anesthesia and 2 weeks of radiology. About midway through the first year, our fellows will participate in a career development course, during which they'll get acquainted with different faculty members who have various career paths, ranging from the physician scientist, clinical researcher, clinical expert, or clinician educator. This will allow them to get a more detailed view about what these career paths really look like on a day-to-day basis, and help them decide which pathway they would like to explore. Over the next few months following this course, fellows will typically meet one-on-one with the faculty members who have a career path that they find appealing. And by March, April of their first year, we expect them to make a choice about which track they will choose for their senior years, either the clinical expert or clinician educator track or the research track. So what your second year of fellowship and beyond will look like will entirely depend on your long-term career goals and which pathway you have chosen to pursue. Since the ACGME requires that all fellows have at least 18 months of clinical training to be board eligible, all fellows will get these 6 additional months of training regardless of their chosen pathway. These include a month of medical ICU elective at a campus of your choice, 2.5 months of non-medical ICU, 1 month of interventional pulmonary, and 1.5 months of pulmonary elective rotations. Fellows who choose the clinical expert or clinician educator pathway will spend 24 months of the second and third year focused on scholarship and excellence in an area of pulmonary and critical care medicine of their choice. Some of the commonly picked domains are listed here, but this is by no means an exclusive list. Each of these areas of excellence, or what we call majors, has a list of required rotations, which allow the fellow to graduate with distinction in the subspecialty. Fellows are also required to participate in scholarship in their area of interest and are given a few months of protected time to do so. For the sake of illustration, this is an example of what the clinical distinction in pulmonary vascular disease would look like, with the required rotations listed, as well as the protected time for academic pursuits and plenty of elective clinical time. So in summary, if you choose the clinician educator or clinician expert pathway, you'll spend about 30 to 32 months of your fellowship on clinical rotations. The rest of your time is spent in education and scholarly activities. 2 extramural presentations or publications are required for graduation. The physician scientist pathway is a track that is funded through one of several NIH training grants, or T32, that our division research mentors have secured. The T32 grant requires fellows to spend a minimum of 24 months on research activities, and therefore protects their time from clinical rotations, aside from their continuity clinics. So if you do the math, 24 months of research plus 18 months of ACGME required clinical rotations will add up to more than 36 months of training. So the fellows going on a T32 funded research track will be committing to a minimum of 42 months of training. The expectation is that fellows accepted into this pathway will move on to an academic position after their fourth year. So in summary, the physician-scientist pathway will consist of 18 months of ACGME-required clinical time, followed by 24 months of research time funded by the training grant. During those 24 months, fellows have the ability to take courses germane to their research, such as the popular Masters of Science in Clinical Research. We believe that trainees graduating from the physician-scientist pathway will be well placed to develop an academic career as independently funded investigators, given their greater protected time for research and publication during fellowship, as well as the division's commitment to their continued development as faculty. Finally, I leave you with this slide. I hope that you have found this presentation useful. Join me on the next one to learn more about additional educational opportunities available to you at Emory.